The grand hall of the Dragon Palace stretched higher than any human building Claire Morrison had ever seen. Massive columns carved from black stone rose toward a ceiling that sparkled with embedded crystals. She had been Earth's ambassador to Draconis Prime for 3 years now, but the scale of dragon architecture still took her breath away. Claire stood near the center of the hall, her dark blue diplomatic suit feeling small and plain among the grandeur. Around her, dozens of dragons moved with careful grace, their scales catching the light in shades of emerald, sapphire, and deep bronze. Some were as large as buses, others smaller but still towering over the handful of humans present. At the far end of the hall, Queen Seraphina reclined on a platform of polished marble. The dragon matriarch was magnificent, her scales the color of molten gold, with eyes like amber stones. Wings folded against her back could have covered a football field. Despite her massive size, she moved with the elegance of a dancer. Today's ceremony was simple enough. The queen would present gifts to orphans and homeless children from the refugee district. It was good publicity for both species, showing cooperation and kindness. Claire's job was to observe, smile, and make sure everything went smoothly. A line of children began entering through the side doors. Most were dragon younglings, their scales still soft and bright, walking on all fours or wobbling on hind legs. They chirped and clicked excitedly, their tails swishing. Adult dragons guided them forward with gentle rumbles. Mixed among them were human children from the camps outside the city. About 20 kids, ages 5 to 12, walked in a nervous cluster. They wore the best clothes the refugee center could provide, but Claire could see the patches and worn fabric. Their eyes were wide as they stared at the dragons around them. Claire felt a familiar ache in her chest. These children had lost so much. The war between the Krellian Empire and the border worlds had displaced millions. Earth had taken in refugees, but resources were stretched thin. Many families ended up in camps on colony worlds like this one, hoping for a chance at a better life. One little girl caught Claire's attention. She was small, maybe 7 years old, with light brown hair that hung in tangled waves past her shoulders. Her dress was faded pink, too large for her thin frame. Unlike the other children who huddled together, this girl walked alone, her head tilted back to stare at everything with curious eyes. The ceremony began. Queen Seraphina spoke in the dragon language, her voice a deep melodic rumble that vibrated through the floor. A translator device converted her words into human speech that echoed from speakers mounted on the walls. "Children of two worlds," the queen said warmly, "you honor us with your presence. Today we celebrate the bonds between our peoples. Each of you will receive a gift to remind you that you are valued and cherished." For the human children, there were warm blankets, new clothes, and small pouches of coins that would help their families. One by one, the children approached the queen. She lowered her massive head to greet each one, her movements slow and careful. The dragon younglings chirped happily, touching their snouts to hers. The human children were more hesitant, but the queen's gentle manner eased their fear. Claire watched a young boy receive his gift. He stammered a thank you, and Queen Seraphina's eyes crinkled in what Claire had learned was a dragon's smile. The queen extended one clawed hand, and the boy touched it briefly before scurrying back to the group. The small girl with tangled hair was near the end of the line. She stepped forward when called, her movements confident despite her ragged appearance. Claire found herself leaning forward slightly, intrigued by the child's fearlessness. Queen Seraphina regarded the girl with interest. "What is your name, little one?" "I mean, your majesty." The girl's voice was clear and bright. "Welcome, Lily." The queen extended her right hand, palm up, in the traditional gesture of greeting and giving. Lily stepped closer, looking up at the massive talons. Each one was longer than the girl's forearm, polished to a gleaming shine. Then the child's gaze fixed on something specific. Her eyes widened. "Mrs. Dragon," Lily said suddenly, her voice filled with wonder and surprise. "My mom has a ring like that." Queen Seraphina's golden scales seemed to ripple, colors shifting beneath the surface like heat waves. Her amber eyes fixed on Lily with an intensity that made Claire step forward instinctively, ready to intervene if needed. The queen's voice when she spoke was barely above a whisper. "What did you say, child?" The design was intricate, showing two forms intertwined, one human and one dragon. "My mom had a ring just like that one," Lily repeated, her innocent voice echoing in the silent hall. She wore it every day. She said it was special. The dragon matriarch slowly lowered herself until her massive head was level with Lily. Her voice shook. Your mother, what was her name? But she died 2 years ago. Queen Seraphina's legs buckled, and she lowered herself completely to the marble floor. Her massive head came down until it rested just inches from Lily. The little girl didn't flinch or step back. She simply looked into the dragon's enormous amber eyes with the same curiosity she had shown since entering the hall. Rachel Morgan, the queen whispered, her voice breaking. Tell me about her child. Please. Their expressions were solemn, respectful. Lily tilted her head, thinking, Mom was nice. She helped sick people. We lived in the camps because we didn't have money to go anywhere else. She worked really hard, but she always had time to tell me stories before bed. Before she got too sick, she sold her ring. She said it was worth a lot and would buy us food for months, but then she got worse anyway. The dragon made no move to hide her grief. Claire felt her own throat tighten. She pulled out her personal tablet and began typing quickly, accessing the refugee database. The name Rachel Morgan brought up a file, sparse and sad in its brevity. Human female, age 32 at time of death, worked as a medical technician. Daughter Lily Morgan, age 7, currently in Refugee Center 12. But there was more. Claire's fingers flew across the screen, going deeper into the archives. Rachel Morgan's work history showed something interesting. 20 years ago, she had been part of a medical relief mission to Draconis Prime during something called the Crimson Plague. Claire looked up sharply. She knew about the Crimson Plague. It had nearly wiped out an entire generation of dragon younglings. Earth had sent medical teams to help, one of the first major cooperative efforts between the species. Queen Seraphina was still speaking softly to Lily. Your mother was the kindest person I ever met. She saved my daughter's life. Your mother was part of a team that came from Earth to help. I remember the humans in their white coats, working day and night. Many of our children survived because of them. Rachel stayed by her side for 6 days without sleeping. She tried treatment after treatment, mixing human medicine with dragon healing techniques. On the 7th day, Azura's fever broke. When Azura recovered, I wanted to honor Rachel. In our culture, this ring is given only to those who become bond mates, closer than family. I had 2 rings made, identical in every way. I gave one to Rachel and told her she would always be welcome in my home, that she was family to the dragon throne. She was connected to the highest level of dragon society. What happened to your mother's ring, little one? Queen Seraphina asked. A man from the camp bought it, Lily said. Mom cried when she sold it, but she said it was okay because it would help us. The man gave her money, and we had food for a while. But then Mom got sick anyway, and the money ran out. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of absolute authority. Lily Morgan is under the protection of the dragon throne from this moment forward. She is blood debt family, and anyone who harms her answers to me. Reports are coming in about the queen making some kind of declaration. Remove her from the palace immediately and process her through normal channels. This could complicate our trade negotiations. She looked at Lily, who was now smiling as Queen Seraphina gently touched the girl's cheek with one massive claw. She looked at the dragons gathered around, their expressions showing respect and something like joy at finding this connection to someone they had honored. Then she looked at her tablet again and made a decision that could end her career. She turned off the device and slipped it into her pocket. A younger dragon approached, her scales a beautiful mix of pearl and silver. She was smaller than the queen, but still massive. Mother, she said softly, is this truly the daughter of Rachel? I have thought of her every day for 20 years, wondering if she knew how much her kindness meant. And now I am in your debt, as my mother is. The rings are unique, made by our finest craftsman who died 5 years ago. There are only 2 in existence, mine and the one I gave to Rachel. Claire sat in her small office within the human embassy building, staring at the string of increasingly angry messages on her tablet. Director Holland had sent 15 messages in the past 3 hours, each one more demanding than the last. Morrison responded immediately. Through the window, she could see the Dragon Palace rising in the distance, its towers catching the afternoon light. Lily was there now, being fed and clothed by the royal household. Queen Seraphina had insisted the girls stay under her protection while they figured out what to do next. A knock at the door made Claire look up. Her assistant, a young man named Kevin Brooks, poked his head in. "Ma'am, there's a secure call coming in from Earth." Director Holland himself. Behind him, Claire could see the flags of Earth's united government. "Ambassador Morrison," he said coldly. "Would you care to explain why you have ignored 16 direct orders? The dragons are claiming jurisdiction over a human child. Our legal team is having fits, and you, instead of managing the situation, have actively encouraged it." Queen Seraphina gave Rachel Morgan a royal bondmate ring. In dragon culture, that makes Lily part of their royal family. If we let them claim human citizens based on old debts and symbolic jewelry, where does it end? We have treaties, Morrison, procedures. She helped them when they were desperate. Now her daughter is homeless and alone. If we reject the dragon's attempt to honor that debt, what message does that send? The message it sends is that we protect our own people and don't let other species dictate our internal affairs, no matter how friendly we are. You have 24 hours to extract that child from the Dragon Palace and deliver her to the refugee center. If you fail to comply, you will be recalled to Earth and face disciplinary action. Am I clear? One day to decide between the career she had spent 15 years building and doing what she knew in her heart was right. Kevin appeared in the doorway again, his face concerned. "Ma'am, are you okay? Can you find me everything we have on the Crimson Plague relief mission? Specifically, anything about Rachel Morgan's service record?" "Ma'am, if you don't mind me saying, what you're doing for that kid is really brave." Medical technician first class, volunteered for the most dangerous assignments, spent 6 months on Draconis Prime during the plague. The reports from her supervisors glowed with praise. Dedicated, compassionate, brilliant at improvising solutions with limited resources. There were photos, too. Rachel had been pretty, with the same light brown hair as Lily and a warm smile. In one picture, she stood next to a much younger Queen Seraphina, both of them looking at a small dragon youngling sleeping peacefully. That must have been Azura, Claire realized. Another knock at the door interrupted her reading. This time it was a dragon messenger, scales gleaming green in the hallway light. "Ambassador Morrison, Queen Seraphina requests your presence at the palace." The little girl was wearing a new dress, clean and well-fitted, and someone had brushed her hair until it shone. "Ambassador," Queen Seraphina greeted her, "thank you for coming. I understand your government is unhappy with the current situation. The debt I owe is too great. But I need to ask you something first. If we could find Rachel's ring, the one you gave her, would that be enough proof for both our peoples that Lily truly is connected to your family? Finding the other would prove beyond doubt that Lily is Rachel's daughter, and therefore under our protection. But I know someone who might." Claire pulled out her tablet and began typing a message. "There's a human trader named Ben Carter who works in the refugee markets. He knows everyone, knows everything that gets bought and sold. If anyone can trace where that ring went, it's him. That finding the ring was also her only chance to save her career and do the right thing at the same time. 24 hours wasn't much time to track down a ring sold 2 years ago, but it was all she had." "I'll help too," Lily said suddenly, her small voice clear in the chamber. "I want to find Mom's ring. She loved it so much." "Then we'll find it together." He was a wiry man in his 40s with sun-weathered skin and sharp eyes that noticed everything. When Claire walked in, followed by Princess Azura in her smaller humanoid form, his eyebrows shot up. "Ambassador Morrison," he said with a crooked grin. "You looking to buy some black market goods? Because I'm a completely legitimate businessman these days." "What kind of help?" "Things change hands fast around here." "The one from the palace." The ring was made of dark metal, almost black, with a deep red stone set in the center. The band showed 2 intertwined figures, one human and one dragon, carved with incredible detail. Ben whistled low. "That's one-of-a-kind work. Never seen anything like it." "Who sold it?" "I know most of the dealers who work the camps." A few people stared at Princess Azura, but most minded their own business. "Got something," Ben said finally. "A dealer named Marcus Webb used to work the camps back then. He specialized in jewelry and small valuables. Retired now, lives on the south side." "We can start with him." Haven't seen you in months. Wait, yeah, I remember that one. Beautiful piece, really unusual. The woman who sold it was crying, said it was a gift from a friend, but her daughter needed to eat. I gave her a fair price, more than fair, actually. Sold it the next week to a collector named Helen Cross. She has a shop in the merchant quarter, deals in rare items. The streets were cleaner here, lined with shops selling everything from dragon-made pottery to human electronics. Helen Cross's shop was tucked between a bookstore and a cafe. Helen was a thin woman with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. She examined them over her reading glasses as they entered. "Princess Azura," she said with a slight bow, "this is an honor. What brings you to my humble shop?" Dark metal red stone, showing a human and dragon intertwined. How many more people had owned this ring? A young couple, newlyweds. They wanted something unique for the bride. Let me check my records. Helen disappeared into a back room and returned with a ledger. Here we are, Daniel and Kate Murphy. They were moving to the northern settlements. We can be there in 3 hours. The northern settlements were farming communities, humans and dragons working together to cultivate the rich soil. They found the Murphy home just as night was falling, a cozy house on the edge of a grain field. Kate Murphy answered the door, a woman in her 30s with flour on her apron. Her eyes went wide when she saw Princess Azura landing in her yard. "Please don't be alarmed," Claire said quickly. "We're looking for a ring you bought 2 years ago. It's very important." He comes through every few months with his wagon, buying and selling goods. He should be in the Eastern District markets about now. The Eastern markets were chaotic, hundreds of stalls selling everything imaginable. It took 2 hours of searching before they found Vincent Lee's wagon, a colorful vehicle covered in wind chimes and hanging lanterns. Vincent was a cheerful man who smiled broadly when they explained what they wanted. "Ah, yes, the dragon ring, very special. I knew it was worth something, so I held on to it. Finally sold it 6 months ago to a very particular buyer. Very wealthy, very selective about what he buys." Gregory himself was a dignified older man who received them in a private viewing room. When they explained why they had come, he nodded slowly. "I have the ring," he said. "I purchased it as an investment. Unique pieces only grow in value." "Name your price." Inside, gleaming against black velvet, was Rachel Morgan's ring. Claire held the small box in her hands as they flew back to the Dragon Palace. The sun was rising over the crystal towers, painting everything in shades of gold and pink. She had 4 hours left before Director Holland's deadline, but none of that mattered now. They had found Rachel Morgan's ring. Princess Azura flew beside their aircraft, her wings cutting through the morning air with powerful strokes. Ben sat in the pilot's seat, grinning at having been part of something extraordinary. Claire couldn't stop looking at the ring in the box, the red stone seeming to glow with its own inner light. Gregory Park had refused to take any payment beyond what he had originally spent. 3,000 credits, he had insisted. "Not a penny more. Some things are more valuable than money, Ambassador. This ring belongs with that child." Every credit she had been setting aside for a vacation, for emergencies, for someday. It didn't matter. The look on Lily's face would be worth far more than any number in a bank account. When they landed at the palace, Queen Seraphina was waiting in the courtyard, along with dozens of other dragons and a crowd of human diplomats and reporters. Word had spread about what was happening. The story of the homeless girl and the Dragon Queen had captured everyone's attention. Lily stood next to Queen Seraphina, wearing a beautiful dress of blue silk. Someone had woven small flowers into her hair. When she saw Claire climbing out of the aircraft with the box, her eyes lit up. "Did you find it?" Lily called out. Claire walked forward and knelt before the little girl. Slowly, she opened the box. The ring gleamed in the morning light, just as beautiful as the one on Queen Seraphina's talon. Lily's breath caught, tears spilled down her cheeks. "That's Mom's ring. That's really it. And now it's yours. Lily Morgan, daughter of Rachel, will you accept the protection and love of the Dragon Throne?" It was too large, meant for an adult hand, but the moment it touched her skin, the metal seemed to shift and resize itself, fitting perfectly. The red stone pulsed once with warm light. "Magic," Princess Azura explained, seeing Claire's surprised expression. "The rings were enchanted to bond with their wearers. It knows Lily is Rachel's daughter." Claire stood and found herself face to face with a newcomer, a woman in an expensive suit with the insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps. Director Holland's personal representative. Ambassador Morrison, the woman said coldly. I'm here to escort you back to Earth. The director has ordered your immediate recall. She has honored the memory of a hero and brought joy to a child who has known too much sorrow. I formally request that she be promoted to Chief Ambassador, with full authority to negotiate on behalf of Earth in all matters concerning our alliance. Your Majesty, the director has already made his decision. The leader, an elderly woman named Counselor Patricia Wright, stepped forward. We have been following this situation closely, Counselor Wright said. The story of Rachel Morgan and her sacrifice, of Ambassador Morrison's courage in honoring that sacrifice, has resonated with people across Earth and all our colonies. In the past 12 hours, we have received over 10 million messages supporting the ambassador's actions. Sometimes the spirit of our alliance matters more than the letter of our treaties. The High Council has voted unanimously to promote you to Chief Ambassador, exactly as Queen Seraphina requested. Thank you, Counselor. A foundation was established in Rachel Morgan's name, dedicated to helping refugee children of all species. Lily's adoption by the Dragon Royal family became official under both human and dragon law, a first in the history of both civilizations. Claire watched from her new office, much larger than her old one, as Lily played in the palace gardens with young dragon children. The girl laughed as they chased each other around fountains and flower beds. She wore her mother's ring every day, and it seemed to glow a little brighter whenever she was happy. Princess Azura often joined in the games, teaching Lily about dragon culture and history. In return, Lily taught the dragons about human customs, sharing stories her mother had told her. The bond between them grew stronger each day. One afternoon, Claire received a message from Ben Carter. He had used the reward money Queen Seraphina had given him to open a legitimate trading business, helping refugees sell their goods at fair prices. Turns out doing the right thing is actually pretty good for business, his message said, making Claire smile. 3 months after finding the ring, Claire stood in the grand hall once more for another ceremony. This time, Lily was being formally presented to the dragon people as an honorary princess. The girl stood tall and proud, no longer the homeless child in ragged clothes, but a confident young person who belonged to two worlds. As Lily and Princess Azura took flight together, the young girl riding on the dragon's back, Claire thought about Rachel Morgan. The woman had saved a life 20 years ago, never knowing that her kindness would one day save her own daughter from a life of poverty and loneliness. The ring on Lily's finger caught the sunlight as they flew, flashing like a star. Queen Seraphina stood beside Claire, watching them circle above the palace. Rachel would be proud, the queen said softly. Claire nodded. Yes, she would. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness ripple forward through time in ways no one can predict. Rachel had helped a dying dragon child without expecting anything in return. That simple act of compassion had built a bridge between species and given her daughter a family when she needed one most. As Claire watched Lily and Azura soar through the sky together, she knew this was just the beginning of their story. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses,